Hello, this is Kevin Lockett for Akron '08. Today we're here with David Giffels from the Akron Beacon Journal. David, if you had the ear of the president, what one thing would you want to tell him when it comes to Akron and its survival as a city?
The one thing I would want any national politician to understand about not just Akron, but places like Akron that are post industrial, former manufacturing cities um, that are trying to reinvent themselves is that we don't necessarily need to hear the promise of more factory jobs as much as we need to hear how we're being viewed in the future. Cities like Akron could have died after we lost manufacturing. And the thing that a lot of people want to hear that's the easy answer is that we'll just bring more of what you used to have in the past back.
Right.
But places like Akron and Buffalo and Detroit, or the cities around Detroit, and this region overall, really need to know how we're being viewed for the future. What kinds of um, innovations can be brought to cities that have an industrial past that can give them some kind of a future, whether it be, in Akron's case, technology, or in the case of other cities, a new industry to replace one that's gone. I want to know how we're being looked at more than just the easy answer of either we're going to bring factory jobs back or, you're on your own.
The one thing that I've always seen is that I'm always concerned about the blue collar worker. My father was a blue collar worker. He worked for Chrysler for 40 years, and he was the last of a dying breed who basically was able to retire on his own terms.
Right.
There's just so many jobs at the hospital. There's just so many jobs at the city of Akron. I mean, what's going to happen to the blue collar worker? Because everybody's not going to go to college. Some people just like working with their hands. So, what do you think is going to happen to those individuals if things don't turn around in this area?
Well, the national issue is that we have to stop the flow of jobs overseas, and the one of the things that I'm really interested in is this idea of developing a new economy based on energy reform, based on building new kinds of, building windmills and nuclear power, and the sorts of things that will solve not only the problem of there not being jobs, but solve the problem of dependence on foreign oil, solve the problem of slowed industrial growth in sectors that have matured and aren't growing and thriving the way some of these new technologies are. But also an understanding that most of the outmigration from Akron in the past generation has been people, blue collar people, who had no more opportunity here and had to leave the state. And to look at what we're left with. If we're left with a smaller state, which we are, um, what can we how can we look at the people who are left here, who are committed to here? What needs do they have? Do they need manufacturing? If that's the case, then let's bring some of that here. Or maybe they need to reinvent themselves um, through higher education as a more of a white collar managerial workforce. Whatever it is, to look at the specific demographic, the specific dynamic of who we are, and what's the best fit for us.
And what would you tell people who are teetering right now, saying, "Listen, I need to find a job. I'm not sure if things are going to turn around here." But what can you tell people? Who, how can you convince them that why they should stay in Northeast Ohio or Detroit or Buffalo? I mean, what can you say that's going to say, "Listen, we have some things coming that will be very beneficial to you"? I mean, is there anything you can say right now, or is it, you know?
I can't say that in the near future that the bad job picture in Ohio is going to change, because I'm not seeing that change. I mean, there are some who, Eric Fingerhut's plan is to increase the availability and affordability of higher education under the thinking that a more educated workforce will attract jobs. That's open to debate. I mean, just because you have the workers here with the knowledge and the skill, we've had that. I mean, we've laid off a lot of really talented people who weren't able to didn't become a magnet for new jobs to come here to give them a place to work, and they had to leave. So I'm an optimist, but I don't see a short term turnaround in Ohio. I think the thing that I would encourage people to recognize that in a place like Akron, there's a quality of life in a city this size. Um, in, especially if it's your hometown, in the connections that you have to this area that can't be replaced by going somewhere else. So you might be able to find a better job in another place, but you also might have to accept with that a lot of things like the higher crime of a bigger city, the transportation issues of getting around a different kind of place, the lack of immediate connection to your family and friends, the things that might be more important to you. So to look at the bigger picture and not just make a decision based on your salary.
Okay. If there's any stories people should check out the Beacon Journal that covers these issues, do you have any stories that people should check into online?
We've all, for the past year, we've been writing a series about the middle class, about the changes in the things that we were just talking about. And if you go to Ohio.com and you click on the Reclaim the Dream links and links to about the middle class on our homepage, you can go to all of our coverage and additional coverage that we've done with our partner WKSU and through the recent forum Reclaim the Dream.
Okay. Thanks a lot, David.
Yep.